Welcome back to Big Dan's Airguns Reviews. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Reximex Pretensis walnut rifle. As always, we're going to be going through the full set of tests on this channel, such as we're going to go over its features, check the weight, see how it is through a chronograph, overall see what we think of its handling, and then finally have a bit of fun with it and put a few shots down range, and then obviously we'll give our final verdict on the gun. Now, let's be honest, you didn't think that YouTube allowed pornography, did you? Because that's a damn fine tractor. Anyways, moving on to the features of the Reximex Pretensis walnut. Well, before we get into features, to clean up why the continuity of this video seems all over the place, yes, we have changed location, and you can probably hear why. That's why. Anyways, on to the features of the Reximex Pretensis. Starting off at the rear of the gun, you have got a nicely finished recoil pad. Slightly further forward, you can see we have raised the cheek piece slightly because this gun does come with an adjustable cheek piece. Further on, we've got this really lovely dot type pattern on the grip area here, which again, considering the price of the gun, we charge £470 for these tested. That's really well done, seriously well done. You've got some more just in front of the sort of trigger guard area here. The trigger guard is also a one piece with the stock. There's no sort of metal inserts or any little guards that you've got to screw in or anything like that. That is in the design of the stock itself, which I really, really like. And you mainly only see that on far more expensive guns. Moving back a tad, you have got the adjustable match type two-stage trigger, which can also be adjusted left and right, as well as up and down, as well as adjusting for length of pull, pull weight, etc. And back a bit further, we have got the safety as well, but these are both handling things, so we'll talk a little bit more about that a bit later on. You've got the Reximex logo, which is really nicely printed into the side of the stock here, and I doubt you'll be able to see it, but the logo is also printed, you probably can't see that, on the base of the grip there. Again, nice little features they didn't have to do, but they really went the extra mile with this gun, at least aesthetically. Slightly further up, we have the side lever action. We do a bit more testing on that in the handling section, see what that's really like. And you have got what they call a mil-spec Picatinny or Weaver style rail. We'll talk a little bit more about that when the time comes. The other thing that's interesting is you can also, I believe, use a dovetail rail or mount on this system as well, which is a very, very good idea. I wish more rifles came with this system. Slightly further forwards, we have the power adjuster, which is a common staple on most Turkish guns, but it's a really nice thing to have, and it shows it's not just a cabinet queen. This gun has been designed to hunt. Speaking of which, there is an actual dedicated hunting version of this gun, which comes in a synthetic stock, and as well as the adjustable cheek piece, you've also got an adjustable butt pad to go with it, which is again a nice little feature. No idea why they didn't put it on the walnut, but there you go. They're not the only ones to do that. Virarc also do it, but in reverse with the 97, funnily enough. As we move slightly further along, you've got the pressure gauge right where it should be, well away from that barrel, so you're not having to look down the business end just to check your air pressure. Now, this is an unregulated gun, so we'll test the shot count a little bit as we move on to the chronograph section and see how it does, where the power curve is, and such like that. Now, what I do like about this gun, which this is where some of the Asian guns, like some of the Artemis Snow Peak gear, falls flat on its face, it has a 1/2-inch UNF thread underneath that blast tamer that you can see there. To be fair, it is more of a thread protector probably than something that's really going to make any massive difference downrange, but we'll have a play with it a bit later on and we'll find out for ourselves. Maybe it does make a genuine effect. I'm not so sure, especially with considering we're using sub 12 feet-pounds power here in the UK. As we move under the gun, something I do quite like, but no doubt you're probably not going to be able to see it because the stupid place that I've put that sort of like arrestor sort of fork there. There is also a cutout already in the stock and like an adapter built into the gun for you to screw in another adapter to put in a bipod, and that actually comes with the gun. If we look in this little accessory pack here, you can see there's a single shot tray on the right, and on the left you have got that little accessory rail that simply screws straight in. The other thing I like is the fact that you have got a set of sling swivels built into the gun, so you don't have to cut into this beautiful piece of walnut that's sitting in front of you right now. And it is a stunning piece of wood, it really is. Bearing in mind the price of the gun, the lines and the build on that stock is absolutely gorgeous. But that's it overall. Oh no, wait, no it's not. And you get 2 magazines as standard straight out the box. So spec wise, you've got a lot going for you if you pick up a Pretensis, but what you get on paper doesn't really mean much if you can't lift the thing and it's rubbish downrange. So we'll get the scales out and see how heavy she is. Once again, I am so sorry about the noise. Can't be helped, I'm afraid. This is a working farm and unfortunately they are working on it today. You should hear that Ford when he revs it up though. That straight six is gorgeous. Anyways, let's get the scales out and see what she weighs. Okay, so we have it on the scales and it comes out at 7.34 pounds. Oh, that was well timed, wasn't it? 7.34 pounds, so it's about a middleweight in the world of PCP air guns. I think roughly similar to the some of the Artemis gear and such, like the M16 that we've tried. So it's got pretty stiff competition so far, but we'll see how she does a bit later on. Before we move on to the handling section, let's take a close look at those mags and see how they're loaded. Okay then, so loading the mag. Thankfully, this is a really easy affair. If you've already used a Crowell rifle or even a Benjamin, something like that, you already know how this works. So you spin that top tray all the way around, like so. As you're doing it, you'll be feeling the spring tension against your fingers as you slide that tray. Now, what I recommend, hold that in place. You can see the first pellet hole right there, and use your middle finger just to block that hole, because sometimes you drop a pellet in, it will shoot out the other side. So the finger back there will hold that in place, stop that from happening, and the tension is now being held under the pressure of that one pellet. So it's easy now, there's no tension on the plate. You can simply load the pellet straight through the top like that, and just like that, it's an absolute piece of cake. Get them loaded up, line them up into the gun, and you're ready to rock and roll. The only bit that can be a bit fiddly till you get used to it is when loading it into the breech. You'll notice there's a slot inside the breech. Simply line this groove up with that slot and it'll slide straight in. Don't try to force it through, because sometimes what can happen is if you really force it, you can actually take that groove completely out and your mag's dead. So make sure it's lined up properly and it should just straight in. So that's it for loading the mag. Let's chuck a scope on now and put it to the shoulder. Okay, so the Reximex Pretensis walnut, what do we think when it comes to handling? Well, first thing I'm going to mention that I really like is that checkering pattern. You probably knew it was coming straight away. That is lovely on the fingertips. Now, as we say on this channel, we use stripper rules. Is this a stripper that will let you touch as well as look? Yes, it will. You can definitely feel that on the fingertips. It's not like some where you can see it, but you can't feel it, basically. Like, and again, not knocking them, I'm a big fan of them, but some of the Artemis guns we've reviewed, you can see it, but it's so fine that it wouldn't really do anything. With this, though, it definitely would, and obviously got that lovely bit on the approaching the forestock as well. So let's put it to the shoulder and see what we think. So what do we think overall weight-wise and balance? Well, we've got a Conus Empire on top, which is a pretty hefty bit of kit, but it still feels really manageable. We've got the mag in there as well, of course, but it still feels really manageable. You wouldn't really have any issue, despite that beautiful stock, which I'll be scared to death of marking. You could take that hunting no problem at all. I mean, and again, bear in mind, that is a huge, if anything, target scope on there more than a hunting scope. If it was, I was using it as a hunter, I'd put something like a 3-40 on there, something like that. But I don't think anyone's going to have any issues. Balance-wise, it's pretty much dead on. I mean, I will say it's a bit awkward to do a proper test on it because of the shaping of the stock, but yeah, it's pretty much perfect, as you can see. Hang on, take my thumb off there. See, it's starting to tip a little bit, but it's pretty much bang on. A little bit of nose tip there, but no complaints, I'll put it that way. Let's have a go now at the action itself. So let's have a go at that side lever. You can hear there the mag cycling. You can feel there's a little bit of resistance. You might have seen it as you're pushing that pellet into the breech. Now, I will say we did try this off camera with, we've got Superfields in at the moment, but I have had a little dabble with the Pretensis with the FX style JSB pellets, and it was butter. You couldn't even feel it loading the pellet in. But with something with a harder skirt, such as the Superfields, maybe H&N as well, you will feel there's a little bit maybe of resistance. It's not nasty at all. In fact, you could do it with your little finger still, but you can feel that clunk as it goes in. So let's have a go now with the safety and trigger. Now, the safety, I really like it, but there's a little thing I'm not sure about. Now, what I like is it's metal, which is obviously always going to be a massive advantage in my eyes. In my opinion, if we could make every gun, other than the stock, everything on it metal, that would be my dream gun, but sadly that's sometimes not the case. Now with this, it pretty much is. Like I said, this is a little metal toggle you can see there, and this goes through to the other side of the gun, and all you need to do with your index finger, poke it, and you got a nice little red O-ring on there, as if to say the gun's now live, ready to fire. Obviously, to turn it off, you go reach around and push it back. Now originally I wasn't the hugest fan because I thought it's a little bit fiddly, because as you saw there, my knuckles are sort of hitting the scope. You've got a big scope on there to switch it off, or you've got to bring this hand back and do that. To be fair though, obviously the main thing is you don't want to accidentally knock the safety on. It's not so much accidentally turn the safety off, if that makes sense. So the fact that you can literally, say we're taking aim like this, imagine, I'll put my finger there, it's not on the trigger, but imagine you're taking aim at a rabbit, you want to knock that safety off, you just, and you're ready to go. I genuinely quite like it. It would have been nicer if that was easier to get to switch it on again, but again, we're nitpicking, but that's what this channel's all about. We're here to nitpick these guns and see what you like and what you wouldn't. So let's have a go now at the trigger. I think we've waffled on about the safety long enough. I'm taking aim at a stone, don't know why, scope's not zeroed. Right, now I really like it, but I am going to say there's a but. Now this is out the box, it is an adjustable 2-stage unit. It is more of a single stage out the box. Let me just show you that again. So cycle the gun, and there you saw that then, is just smooth to push that forwards. Right, so little finger test. I'm going to take aim again at that mound over there. If you look, there's not really much movement in that first stage. It's more semi-solid, and then you give it a little bit more of a squeeze, and off she goes. Now what I will say is the overall stiffness on that pressure, or on that trigger, or the amount of pressure required to pull the trigger is actually really nice. And the reason why I say that is it's not like a hair trigger, and you saw there, you can easily just pull it with your little finger and off she goes. I wasn't straining at all. But what I like about it is you're not going to accidentally have a shot, shall we say. You definitely know that you've got that on target, you're giving it a little bit of pressure, and let's say you're aiming at quarry, all of a sudden say your rabbit moves, as they do, you can just back off. It's not going to fire, boom, oh god, I've missed or I've wounded it. It's literally going to be a case of, right, back off, and then when he's back on target, there you go, job's a good one. I really like that, and on top of that added bonus, obviously you can adjust that blade left, right, up, down, whatever you want. It's a target style blade. I think that is a lovely, lovely gun. There's another thing I'm just going to bring to your attention as well, because obviously this is sort of like a sister rifle to the Crowls and such like that. Now, Crowl owners can maybe back me up with this, and I think I may have mentioned it with the puncher review, I'm not sure, apologies if I didn't. Some Crowls can have a sort of crashy action. Again, there's no, I mean no offence with this, they're a lovely gun. I really fell in love with the puncher and the Puncher Pro 500, but they can almost crash when you pull the trigger. It's a boosh, and off she goes. Have a listen to this. I'm going to turn my back to you for 2 seconds, apologies about that, but have a listen. See, listen how quiet this is compared to the Crowl. All you've got is muzzle report. The action is whisper quiet. I'd even be surprised if there was really any real hammer bounce on the go with this. That is a very well sorted gun, and of course you have got the power adjuster on there as well if you wanted to play with it, but we'll have a little go with that a bit later on. Handling wise, I am a very, as we say, happy chappy. So yeah, that might go in the cabinet. The only thing I would say, if I haven't mentioned it already, is the length of pull is actually a bit shorter than what you might imagine on this. You can see, don't get me wrong, I've got longer arms maybe than some, and you can see I'm sort of tucking in with this arm a little bit here. But to be fair, would it bother me? Not really. I'll get used to that in no time. And I also like the fact that the grip, if you can see that, is actually quite nice and thin, which almost makes it feel like a lighter handling gun than what it really is, because like we said, it's about a middleweight. But again, I mean, even with that rather large scope on, I can wiggle this thing around no trouble at all. So overall, handling wise, Pretensis, do you know what, I really rather like that. But that doesn't mean anything if the rifle is about as consistent through the chronograph as a shotgun, or my accuracy results downrange. So let's get the chrono out, let's see what she can do through the chrono, and see what we think. Okay, so accuracy testing time. We've refilled the rifle. We're going to be shooting at a big old block of wood over there. Now, we're not going to even bother attaching any target cards or paper to this because although it's mainly calm, it's a beautiful day actually, although it's mainly calm, we do have the occasional little gust. I mean, it's not blowing too much at the minute, it's pretty calm, but basically when we've been putting paper and such on the pieces of wood, it has tended to cave in and such like that. Just a bit messy to shoot through, so a block of wood's not going to go nowhere. So we're going to be doing it old school today, and I'm genuinely quite looking forward to that. So pellet wise, we will start off with the budget gear that we've got at the bottom. We've got the SMK Spitfires, the Norika Match pellets, and the BSA Storms. Slightly further up we have the Crossman Premiers. These are the heavies at 10.5 grain, and the Rifle Dome pellets. Above that we have the Remington Thunder Sniper Lights and the RWS Superfields, and at the top we have what would be considered, well, the premium gear, we'll put it that way. We have got the JSB Heavies at 10.34 grain, the HN FTTs, and the Norma Heavy FT 9.1s. So we've got a good smattering of pellets that covers most of the spectrum of the pellet world out there. We've got budget to sort of what people might consider midline pellets like the RWSs, the Sniper Lights, the Rifle Domes and the Premiers, and then we've got what I suppose many would consider AAA gear, like you've got the HNFTT, JSB and Norma. So we've got a good selection. We're going to set the target up just at 25 yards to start with. We'll see which ones group the best, and then after that we're going to move on to 40 yards. We're going to have the wooden target all the way back there. So without further ado, let's get the camera set up and let's see what our Pretensis can do downrange. Okay, so accuracy testing is over and done with. How did we get on? And we're going to start with the bottom to begin with. So, last group we shot was the H&N FTTs. You can see, I don't know what that is. I can't honestly remember if that's the first shot that we put down or not. But you can see the cluster's not too bad. The wind did get up as we went on. And you can see there, it's pretty much a 5 group. No complaints there. The Thunder Sniper lights, now that's the first pellet that we put on the board. And then as you can see, they're going sky high. They're very light pellet. And those almost under a 5 piece. The golden trophies, hang on, if we move that just slightly sideways, these Normas actually did really well. We had a little bit of a horizontal spread, but again, pretty much under a 5 piece. The Crossman Premiers we're not really going to go into because they was rubbish, but they are these here. And the Narikas, which started well, I thought was doing very well there, right at point of aim as well, but you can see it just went a little bit all over the place. The rifle field domes, not great. I mean, almost 5 but you have got a few flyers all over the place. Again, disregard one of those shots because it was the zeroing shot. And we also have the BSA Storms. Now, the Storms annoyed me, and I'll tell you why in a second, but they genuinely weren't that bad. That was the first shot we had. The pellets are very light, so they're going quite high, but again, it's mainly 5 piece, again. Then we have Superfields. Superfields did very, very well. 5 piece all over again. And then we move on to the JSB Heavies, and this is the reason why I'm a little annoyed with the Storms, because you may have noticed the first shot that we had, me completely not taking into account how light these pellets are at 7.56, actually is up here, and it's ruined, partially ruined anyway, the JSB group. So if we put that there, even with the BSA Storm, it's 5 But if I cover my thumb on that, you can see how tight that actually is. Is that 4 pellets, one on top of the other on the left there, and just 1 or 2 to the right of it there. So a pretty bloody laser accurate tight group. But how's this for an absolute shocker? Who saw this coming? The SMK Spitfire domes. Now, that, there is no flyers. It was bang on point of aim, straight out of the tin, and it's gone. Simple as. In fact, where's my little fingernail? If I put my little fingernail down there, there's really not a whole lot in it, is there? So accuracy-wise, I think it's very safe to say that this is a very, very accurate gun. You can probably hear the wind getting up now. It's starting to rattle the barn a little bit, which it would do when we're going to move on to 40 yards, wouldn't it? But saying that, I am going to mention one more thing. And if you follow us on the airgunforum.co.uk or the Airgun Factory, or even follow us ourselves on Facebook, you'll know where I'm going with this. Before we started filming this review, the day before, it was actually after we finished the chronograph section, I had a couple of goes with the JSB Heavies, just shooting into this actual piece of board here at 25 yards. Now I'm going to show you 2 pictures. One is 3 shots into that board, and then we put a 4th one through there, and then a 5th, which upset things a little bit, unfortunately. But that is 4 pellets literally stacked one on top of the other, if you can see that. Hopefully I've got the pictures, I've put them up already, where you can see it is, again, I know people say stacking pellets, but I was literally with this gun stacking pellets, one on top of the other. And then we had one little flyer, which was probably me, off to the right here. This pellet hole here is the aim point that we had at the time. And again, if I put the 5p piece down there, it's gone. So even though that group with the JSBs was really pretty good on camera, to be fair, I think even if you had a super premium gun, you wouldn't be complaining about that. It's actually bad compared to what we did the day before, where the weather was actually slightly calmer. So that says a lot about this accuracy of this gun, with the fact that I'm actually slightly disappointed with what we got down there. But enough of that. Let's test this gun and really stretch its legs at 40 yards. We're going to put another piece of wooden board up, and what we're going to do, because the pellet weights on the pellets that we're using are so different from each other, we're going to zero every single pellet. So it's not going to be like this, we have 1 0 and basically see where it goes. We're going to be zeroing for every one. So we'll get the Dora the Explorer backpack that we have down there, and we'll plonk it on our bucket there. Hopefully we can clear the potato crate there, and we'll see how she gets on. So I'll get to zeroing, and I shall report back very soon. Okay, so the rifle is prepped and ready. We're zeroed in now for the JSB Heavies. I just want to show you something though first. I'll give you a walk down the range. As you can see, that's where we're going to be squatting using the Dora the Explorer backpack. I am very happy to report that we can shoot over the potato crate, as I was worried about maybe a pellet coming back at me. However, I want to show you something. So as you know, that's going to be the target down there. And you know there's something good going on when I've done this once or twice before, don't get me wrong, on videos, but when I get excited and I show you our pre-filming zero session. Okay, so 40 yards, there's a slight crosswind here, as you can maybe hear going through the lapel mic at this moment in time. Right, so first group, you've got 2 pellets there, 3 there, 4 in there. Okay, again, where am I? There I am. Bear in mind, 40 yards, that's a 5p piece. Then did one last group to make sure she's in zero. 3 shots, as hopefully you can see by the shape there. Oh, where am I? There I am. 3 shots. Look at that. God damn, this is an accurate gun. Right, I'm going to hope that I can hopefully get this on camera as well. And what we're going to be doing is we'll be using a new piece of wood, because obviously you can see this one's been shot to death. We're going to use this skinnier piece here, putting it in front of the piece that we've already got down there, and we'll have a few shots into this. So like we said, first group's going to be with the JSBs, then we're going to have a re-zero. I won't do this with each zeroing session because it takes too much time. We'll have a re-zero, and then we're going to use the HNs, the Superdomes, and the Spitfires of all things, which I'm actually really excited to see what they can do as well. So let's get to work and let's get filming. Okay, so 40-yard accuracy testing over and done with. So who did the best, who did the worst? Let's start off with the worst to begin with, which is it's a tie really between the H&N FTTs and the RWS Superfield. Now again, it's not bad. As we say, bear in mind we're shooting outside, we're not in a lovely cushy range with basically no environmental hazards to deal with. So we have one shot low and right and the others almost sit under a 5p piece. Not bad at all. Moving on to the Superfields. Now we did have one crazy flyer all the way over here, but the rest also sit under a 5p piece, as you can see. Now it gets really good. Now the thing that really surprised me, and probably most people watching this, was that Spitfires beat JSB. Now, what I will say is when we did testing off camera, I think I showed you a few groups, the JSBs definitely shot better. So again, it might have been the wind picked up when we was testing, it might have been maybe it was me, maybe I got a little bit too wobbly when the camera was filming, who knows. But the JSB group, you have 5p piece. In fact, if we move that out the way, the main thing that upsets it is we had a couple of shots just ever so slightly off. The rest of them, as you can see, is just compressing those pellets in there, one on top of the other. The most impressive, however, now granted, there is one flyer, at least it looked to me like there was one flyer right down there. However, the rest, in fact, you can even see it in there still. The rest are all in this cluster here. Now, I could put the 5p piece there, and it's dwarfed by it, or better yet, I can use my little fingernail. And that is at 40 yards outdoors. That is a stonkingly accurate gun. It really, really is. I don't think I need to say anything really, do I? I'll just put that there. Put that there. And you can see it is about the same size as my little fingernail. That is ridiculous. And bear in mind, this is not even an expensive gun. We charge £470 for these. And that includes testing, and we'll even chuck in pellets with it and such like that. Honestly, I know I said this with the Kral Puncher, I know I did, and the Puncher's a great little gun, make no mistake. You could put this against any premium, say maybe even slightly over £1,000 rifle, and it will, if it doesn't keep up with it, it's overtaking it. Simple as. It is a stonkingly accurate gun. But that's accuracy testing out of the way. We now need to move on to the final verdict and see just what we think of the Reximex Pretensis. I think you know where this is going. So, the Reximex Pretensis. What is our opinion of this gun? Well, as we always say, we need to get the negatives out of the way first. For me, really, there aren't any major negatives. It's nitpicks. That's all I can say about this gun, but we are going to mention them for the sake of being fair. The length of pull for me was the tiniest little bit short. You could see I was tucking in when I was doing the handling section just a little bit. Again, I've got the wingspan of an albatross. It's me more than the gun. I don't expect it to fit me perfectly, because then odds are it won't fit you perfectly, where this, it probably will out the box fit you guys, most people watching this, like a glove. Even if I decide to keep this gun, which is a serious possibility, even though I wouldn't even bother putting an extension or even a large butt pad on there, I would genuinely, it's so minute, I would leave it the way it is. The safety, I'm not the biggest fan of the design. I'd rather a little toggle in front of the trigger blade, which would work, in my opinion, a lot nicer. Just the handling in general or the usage of it would be better. The single shot tray is a little bit fiddly to use. Pellets can nosedive ever so slightly, so you may accidentally load them arse first, which is not obviously ideal. But again, it's a nitpick. It's not a serious negative that's going to put you off the gun. The mags work flawlessly, and you can even load the pellets. You can thumb them into the breech there. And again, I've got pretty big thumbs, so it's not a major concern, even if you absolutely hate that mag, or single shot tray, I should say. That's it. That's literally all I can say. The rest of it is freaking brilliant. The overall looks of the thing, I know this is subjective, of course, but the looks of the thing, it's stunning. You would not think that was a budget gun. We actually had, when we first had this rifle turn up, and hello Pete and Nick if you're watching this, I had two customers turn up, and we actually had this at the time, and they didn't know of the brand, anything like that, and I simply said to them, how much do you think that gun is? And I'm not kidding you, they said £800. And you can't blame them for saying that. You've got a lovely lump of walnut on there, you've got a match grade 2-stage, although out the box it is more like a very predictable single stage. Adjustable trigger right there, and then you've got a built-in adjustable cheek piece. The overall finish and the design of that checkering is absolutely beautiful, And obviously you've got your, I know it's a silly thing, but your sling studs and such like that, and your threaded end there for a silencer straight out the box. I even love the rail system on this, the fact that you can use either standard dovetail mounts, you can use your Picatinny or Weaver style mounts. Almost everything will fit on this gun, which is brilliant. I wish more guns would come with this system. The cocking lever is also, or the action I should say, is also absolutely smooth as silk. You can cock it with your little finger with no trouble whatsoever. The overall build quality and such on this gun is genuinely 10 out of 10. I'm not even going to say even for the price. I mean, yes, maybe the action could be a bit more glossy or something like that, I don't know, but you can't look at that stock and even the trigger and the way that it's finished and say, I wish it was a little bit better. No, simple as. It's brilliantly made. And again, I'm struggling to say things because I'm smiling like a Cheshire cat. And there's a very good reason for that, which I'll tell you about in a second. Shot count wise, now granted the gun doesn't have a regulator, but it proves that you don't need one. Simple as. We had, I think we've got it here, you can see it's about 140 full power shots, if you can see that, before it starts giving up, or just gently going into where it bleeds off there. The spread at 140 shots, if we take out, I think we had one freakish low shot, which is a pellet, I believe, that just come from nowhere. You have a spread of 35 FPS, which is not bad at all. Again, no reg. 100 shots, you only had a spread of 24, I believe, off memory, which is just as good, if not better, than some of the regulated out-the-box guns we've had on this channel. So, again, no, it doesn't have a regulator. Do you need one? No, you bloody don't. It's also got a power adjuster on there, which I do apologise we didn't get around to testing. We're running out of time and battery at this moment in time. But if you've seen some of our other reviews, you'll know that it's literally a case of the Krauls, for instance. On low power setting, you're doing about 6 feet-pound. Max power, as you can see, she's doing this with heavies, was doing about, I think we had the hottest shot was about 11.8, something like that. So, yeah, it's a very handy tool to have, and again, it makes it not just a cabinet queen, but a serious hunting gun to go with it. And I would take this hunting. It's a lovely thing to take, and you've already got your bipod attachments on there if you decide to go take some rats or rabbits out. You've got your sling studs in there. Out the box, it was designed to be used not just as a target gun, but as a hunting gun, which is another little reason why I love this. And again, there's no point having a good hunting gun if you can't hit a bloody whale with it, let alone a rat in the head at, say, 30 yards. And thankfully, with this, you're doing it every time. Now, granted, the superfields weren't too hot at 40. The FTTs weren't terrible. I still don't know if I'd hunt with it simply because of that one little flyer, if you can see my finger pointing there. But again, that could have been the wind that took it. With JSB heavies, I mean, this actually grouped worse on... Oh, there goes the coin. That's my big thumbs I was telling you about. It actually grouped worse on camera than it did off camera, which is a little annoying, but we'll put the, if we haven't done it already, put the pictures up of how it's shot off camera there, so you can see just what this gun is capable of. That's 5 pence all day long. Now the Spitfires, we had one pellet went really low, which I'm sure is probably, it's a very cheap tin of pellets. It's probably maybe a slight misshape that just caught me off guard. But the rest, have a bloody look at that. In fact, like we said, 5p coin's too big. Little fingernail. That is madness, and I may have said it multiple times already, but frankly, you know I don't care. You can have a serious, prestigiously made rifle, something German, British, you name it, and it's not going to group any better. In fact, I would be highly surprised if one out the box would group as well as that. And I know that's a bold thing to say. Maybe I'm completely wrong. I'm not dissing the HW100s or anything like that I'm sure a lot of people watching this have or has. But there's no denying how tight this gun can group. And this leads me on to the bit that I really, really like about this gun, or I'll elaborate a bit more on it. Why I love this gun so much and why I'm smiling talking about it is because it's genuine. You see this phrase thrown around a lot. It's genuine value for money. Now, I don't really like this phrase when you see people say it about something just because it's cheap, because it's not value for money if you're paying for it and it barely does its intended purpose. That's not value for money, that's wasted money. This is genuine value for money in rifle form, because it shoots, or shot count wise, it's got more than some of the regulated guns. It has bigger lungs than the Artemis M16s and such that we shot. It's tied with the Zabroya Hortizia. I think that was about 140 shots per fill before it started giving up. It's roughly tied with that. And the Hortizia, when we had the good batches of them, was a great gun, and I think now they're a great gun as well. But it will keep up with things, like we've said, that are well over twice the money. And it's a damn fine looking thing to go with it as well. It feels like a prestigious premium gun. This is value for money. And this, when these start getting a lot more popular and you see them down the range, I think it's going to start embarrassing some very, very expensive guns. At this moment in time, I know it's a bad thing to say, or it's too early to say, in fact I'll go even further. I would say, as much as I love the Kral Puncher, which is a tremendous gun, this already is my PCP air gun. I'll even go back as at the start of 2021 even, maybe even 2020. This is my favourite, or my PCP air gun of the last 2 years, simply because of what it can do and what it stands for. It is seriously that bloody good. But I will say a massive, we've got to wrap this up because I've got 7% battery left. I will say a massive thank you to Rangerite, the guys and girls there, for sponsoring this video review and letting us review this gun. If you're an RFD like myself and you're not trading with them yet, you bloody well should be. And if you're thinking about becoming an RFD, they are a fantastic bunch of guys and girls when it comes to helping you out. And me, when I was first getting started and such, they've helped me immensely, and they've got, as you can tell, some absolutely amazing products to go with it. So definitely get in touch with Rangerite if you're thinking about selling your soul and becoming one of us. But yeah, thank you ever so much for watching, everyone, and as always, we'll see you next time.